So one day I was sitting there reading. I did my normal Bible reading, and then I flipped over and I was reading a Proverbs of the day. And in this chapter of the Proverbs, I was reading it. It was very practical, good. I was enjoying it. But I found this chapter was dealing with overeating, drinking, sexual promiscuity, and materialism. And that's kind of normal in Proverbs, and it's helpful, and I love reading it. And I'm sitting there reading through that and think, man, I need to work on that. And then I became to this verse here, and I became a little challenged as I read this verse. And in Proverbs 23, verse 26, Bible says, I'm sorry, I should have given you a heads up and turn there. I thought you could read my mind and I already would be there. But it's Proverbs 23, 26. Most of you don't know where that is. It is on the screens if you don't. So just look intelligent, open your Bible, and then look at the screen. But it's Proverbs 23, 26. And you can read the entire chapter. I'd recommend that because you'll get basically what I tried to write down here in that chapter. But it's, my son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes, and this is where it hit me, observe my ways. Now, I will tell you what so many of us are good at, telling people what to do. I'll tell you what you should do. I'm great at it. I'll tell you right now, I can tell my kids, hey, I know what you should do this. What we're not so good at is, hey, do what I'm doing. We hear all the time people watch what you do more than what you say. That is true for our children. So many of us have an opinion of some people, and hey, I know that person because I know this. If you really want to get to know me, you really want to say, what is he really like? You should probably ask my wife and my kids. I may not want you to ask them because they may be honest with you. But that's how you get to know somebody. If I want to get to know some of you, I would ask those who know you best or live with you. They know you. They would be honest. They know the real you. Not the person you want to be some of the time, but who you are all of the time. We have to make sure, as I looked at this verse, I had to make sure and check my own heart. Am I doing that? Do I want my boys to follow my example? That challenged me that morning. So what I thought is this: Solomon not only gives his son tips on how to live a successful life, but he also wanted his son to follow his example. And when I realized that, it hit me, do I also want that to happen? Now, what kind of hurts there is, as you're reading this chapter, did Solomon do that? No. And did his son do it? You start to see the man who wrote this did not take his own advice. And maybe he was saying, I wish I had. But we have to also make sure we challenge ourselves to follow what he wrote. Do I want my child to follow my example? Do I want that? And you, right now, if you're like me, you're thinking of an area you're good at. Well, of course I do. What about the other areas? What about the area you're not good at? What about the area you struggle with? What about handling your money? Do you want to follow your example? What about the area of overeating? Do you want to follow your example? What about the area of hard work? What about the area of moral purity? Do you want him to follow your example? I mean the real example, not the one you portray, but the real you. Mothers, do you want your daughters following your example? Do you want them treating other people with respect as you do? Do you want them to be as sweet and kind all the time, not just as you get out of the car? So many of us, we've seen people have this incredible argument. As soon as they get out of the car, they put that big smile on. Have you ever seen that before? Anybody else but me? Yeah, I was parked next to you this evening, so I did see that. But we have seen that before. So what example are we actually setting for our children? So right here, this is probably Dad, first time babysitting. I will go back to the first time that, our first son, for a few weeks, my wife didn't leave him alone, and I was like petrified. The first time I'd actually have to change a diaper. So some of you are like, you're ridiculous. Okay, fine, I was ridiculous, but I got over it. So I said, hey, go out. I think she was going with some friends. Go out with your friends. I've got this. Are you sure? Yes. She acts like she's going away for 16 hours. She's going away for, 2 hours. I'm a dad. I have this. As she's about a half mile away, I realize this kid has a dirty diaper. I thought it was a conspiracy. I was going to call her and say, hey, can you run back home? But I didn't. My pride prevented me. Okay, I'm going to get through this. God, you're going to give me strength. I got through that, changed the diaper. About 30 minutes later, kid had another dirty diaper. I thought, this parenting thing stinks. Literally. All right, so we have that. But what example are we setting for our children? How are we acting? What are we doing? What example, this was for me. That morning what I did is actually email myself some of these notes. So these are questions I asked myself that morning. What example are we setting controlling our appetites? And this is more than just your food appetite, all that's included. It's any appetite. It's an appetite for more things. How much is enough? How many clothes do you have to have? How new of a phone do you have to have? How new of a car do you have to have? How much do you have to spend to be happy? How much do you have to be happy in any area? How much is enough? What example I said in controlling my appetites. An appetite is like anything else. The more you feed it, the more it grows. So you have to learn to control it. And I challenge myself, what example am I setting for my boys? And I made some changes after this in my own life to try to be a better example. What example am I setting for them morally? What example? I still remember the first time we were watching something, and they were younger, and a commercial flashed on that was inappropriate. And not horribly inappropriate. There's so many things that are inappropriate. And my wife and I commented instantly, and it probably was David, our oldest, but instantly, you know what he did? He turned and looked at me. That was instinctive. My wife and I thought that was strange. We talked about it. I think you know why. I have an idea why? He wanted to see what I would do. Now, he knew instinctively, I don't need to see that. And he looked to see, does Dad think he need to see it? And you think people are not watching you, but they are. They're going to follow your example. And if you think, I've controlled it, I'll put on a facade, I'll put on this, that's not going to work. What example are you setting for them morally? How do you treat ladies? Do you treat them respectfully? Are you kind? Do you try to dominate them? Do you try to beat them down with your words? Do you try to do all that? Or are you respectful? Are you kind? If you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you know what Jesus was? He was very respectful. He gave women dignity and respect. Do I do that? Do I model that for my boys? Do you model that for those around you? If you don't have children, are you modeling that for the people you influence in Sunday school? Are you modeling that for those that you teach? Are you modeling that for those on your bus route? Are you modeling it for those that sit around you in church? Are we doing that? What example are we setting for them with our entertainment? And entertainment there obviously is TV, music, it could be video games. It could be the books you read. It could be all sorts of things. Whatever you use, hobbies, anything you do to entertain you. What example are you setting for them? My son, give me thine heart and let thine eyes observe my ways. They're not with me. They're still watching. And they're very smart. They'll figure it out. You know when I find myself being the most frustrated and wanting to correct the most of my children? My bad habits. When I see me and them, the part of me that I don't like, I find myself getting the most frustrated with that. You know why? Because I'm frustrated with myself. How did you pick up on that? I have one bad habit. You pick up on that, right? No, that's what happens. They're a mirror to you. If you don't like who they are, you better check yourself. Because many times they're a mirror to what I modeled for them. This verse came to mind that morning, Hebrews 10:24. Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. What am I provoking them to do? What am I provoking them to be? Am I pushing them to frustration, or am I pushing them to be the best they absolutely can be? Colossians 3:21, this verse came to mind. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Are you frustrating your kids? Are you setting the bar so high? Are you so inconsistent in your personality? They have no idea who to act like, who to be? Are you coming home one day really sweet, the next day being frustrated? Are you one day being really kind and saying, I want to love you, and the next day just saying, you know what, you don't matter to me, and ignoring them, and always on your phone, always answering texts, always answering emails, always on social media, always saying, I want to watch my game, just be quiet and get out of here, just go leave me alone right now? What example am I setting for them? Am I provoking them to anger? Why? Because it's discouraging for them. They're going to say, I don't know how to please you. Every single child is born with the desire to please their parents. I've worked with people that I have no idea why in the world they want to please their parents, because their parents don't care about them. Their parents are terrible examples, and I'm not trying to be judgmental. I mean, you just see, they don't care. They would get rid of them if they could. But there's something in the heart of that boy or girl that wants to make that mom or dad happy. Now, at some point, that can flip once they hit that 12 to 15 years of age. But when they're a little child, I could pour my heart and time into that kid, but they want to please their parent more than anybody else. And that's the same for the people that you influence as well. What are you provoking your children toward? Frustration or good works? What am I pushing them to do? Am I satisfied with who they are? I'm always trying to change them into be something else. I have 3 boys, and I'm sure with your children, they are all very unique in their personalities. They are all very unique in their likes. Now, they can get along, they can coexist, and they can be very close friends as brothers. But they are all very unique. Some are outgoing, some are not. Some are very super driven and passionate and let you know everything, and some are more reserved. They're all very different. They like how they handle love in different ways. They express love in different ways. I have to understand them to that. And if I try to fit them all in one mold and say, you got to be like your brother, you got to do that is provoking them to frustration. You have to learn to understand them. You have to be willing, men, to read books or talk to other people and humble yourself to learn. You need to study them and understand them. So, we're just going to give you a couple topics here that I felt were mentioned in that chapter. This is not something else. That's a great picture. You like that more than my speaking, I don't blame you. So, as we're talking through this, I'm going to give you some practical tips. And these are things, again, I aspire to do. And I thought of that morning, and they're in that Proverbs if you want to look through. So self-discipline is the goal. Why is self-discipline the goal? So I don't have to discipline them anymore. That's kind of what we're going for. And self-discipline is something we all need. Because if I discipline myself, then my wife doesn't have to discipline me. So we have that all the time. If you discipline yourself at work, then you are going to need a supervisor. Because you're disciplining yourself. You're beating yourself into submission. You're also keeping yourself under control. You're controlling your appetites. You're controlling how you treat other people. You are self-disciplined. That is the goal. So what are some things we can do? Have a schedule and routine for your family. Now, some of you probably are much more spontaneous than I am, and that's fine. You could be wrong your entire life. No. But I like schedule. I like routine, probably to the ridiculous point. Every morning I eat the exact same thing for breakfast. I get up early, I fix it, I do it myself, I know the way I like it, it's simple, it's quick, and I make sure, so the night before I lay it all out. And I have it right there, because I know my morning's going to go quick. And I'm a morning person. How many people are morning people? Man, all the spiritual ones, awesome. So you're morning people, you have that, so I get up early, I have that, I got it ready, I got a whole routine in the morning. I like my routine, I have it all down, I get it all done, I try to be real efficient. I like to get everything, I have my clothes laid out, everything done, because I want my mornings to be decision-free, where I can just meditate on the good Word of God, and He and I can be best buddies, because that's the way we all need to live our lives, right? So that's my goal. My wife gets up early, but she's not necessarily as much of a morning person as I am. And she's working to aspire to be more like me. But she hasn't. But so I started, you know what I can do to help my wife? I don't personally, I don't drink coffee or like that, but she has a cup of coffee every morning. Again, she's working to be more like me in this area. But she gets that, so I thought I'm going to get her, I pulled the coffee pot out, I got her cup, I got the little spoon out. I thought, you know what, I sure all I can to help her, because I'm amazing. So I thought if everyone wants to be as efficient as me. So one morning, she came out there, and I was kind of done. I was done with my breakfast, Bible reading. I was kind of cleaning up. She saw the cup. She saw the spoon. She saw the coffee potette. She's like, why don't you just make my coffee and drink it for me and put my cup away? That's a good idea. But she's being a little bit ridiculous at that time. But it is good to have a schedule and a routine for your family. Now, I can probably be too rigid this way, but some of you have no idea when you're going to go to bed. You have no idea when you're going to get up. You have no idea when you're going to mow the lawn. You have no idea what time you're going to eat dinner. You have no idea if you're going to have dinner together. What are you going to do for this week? What are you doing today? You have no idea. So your kids live in this world with no structure and no routine. There's security and self-discipline. And your body is kind of like a machine and a clock, and it gets used to it. If you get into a rhythm with your machine, your body, it is healthier. And you can train your body. You can help it to be more efficient. So you have to get that into your children. Your child, if you let them stay up as late as they want to, they are not going to say, I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning to make it a really productive day. They're going to stay up later. If you say, hey, you can watch TV as late as you want, I'm going to bed, they will continue to do that and probably not make very good choices, and then you get frustrated with them. If you put something in the room, and I'm going to give a little things that I don't do, and don't get angry at me, it's things I not do, but we do have the luxury of having all boys, 3 boys, but they don't have locks on their bedroom doors, and I don't know when the last time their doors of bedroom have been shut. They can go in there, figure out, and they change. And bathroom, we're not a weird family. We have bathroom doors and things, but they don't have TVs in their rooms. They aren't going to have an isolation rooms. They go to their bedrooms to sleep. They don't go to the bedroom to hang out for hours at a time. We hang out together as a family. You don't have to do that. That's what we've tried to do. Because I don't think we're going to look back and say, hey, remember those good times where we all went to our rooms and played on our phones and watched TV? Yeah, those were amazing. If it was that or spend time with you, I can see why they choose to do that. But in our home, we all like to kind of be together. We can read, we can do things together at the same time. We don't play very many video games at all. Went through a phase when we were little when we did, but my kids just have other things they'd rather do. But a schedule and routine. Sorry I got off on that a little bit. And next, offer incentives and rewards when they are successful. This is much better than just giving them things. Just giving your kids money, rewards, and incentives. If you be quiet right now, I'll give you this reward. Don't fall prey to that. Don't just give them, oh, you want this? There is real satisfaction in earning things. And when you make up a reason, you smiled, so I'll just give you this $20. They know that's genuine and sincere and fake, and they don't appreciate that. But if you say, you know what, if you get up every single day and you make your bed and you read your Bible and you do that for this many days, you're going to earn this. And as the second day you would continue to model that and encourage that, there is real value in that, in your teaching and showing them self-discipline and the rewards and benefits of having self-discipline, and they don't even understand you're teaching it. You're like, man, I don't even get up to read my Bible and pray every morning, get up early. All right, then you can give yourself a reward. And you can say, I'm going to do it if I do it 2 weeks straight. Do that for yourself. But offer rewards and incentives when they are successful. I've got to keep moving. Modeling self-discipline is the most powerful way to teach your children. You can sit down, you can preach to them every night, you can have a family devotion, you can do all that, and I'm not against any of that. But if you say all that and don't model it, it's shallow. And it's hypocritical. If you say it and then follow it up with your own example, it's powerful. And when you'll find, if you have to try to model what you say, you're going to be more careful what you say. Because you have to do it. So make sure you learn to model self-discipline. That means when your alarm goes off, guess what we are supposed to do? Get up. Say, I don't want to. I understand that. But if you model that, that's the most powerful way to teach it. If you say you need to get to work on time or school on time, you need to model having an organized morning where you are not rushing around, crazy, angry, frustrated, figuring that out. I'm just weird that way. I try to organize and streamline everything. You don't have it, and it can be probably annoying sometimes to the people. But if you model that and get yourself under control, it can really help your family to run smoothly. Model that yourself. Okay, next. Read the Bible in front of them each day. I could add pray, I could do all that. And I understand. I remember the first time I have a spot where I do it, and my kids would come out, and they would ask me questions when I'm reading my Bible. And for some weird reason, I found that annoying. Anybody else ever find that annoying when you're trying to read and they do that? And I found myself getting irritated. And then I realized, isn't that ridiculous? So the next time, my sons are little, the next time I said, well, what do you think? What are you reading, Daddy? The Bible. You know, God's holy word. Now go shut up and go back to bed. All right, so yeah. And by the way, Jesus loves you. All right, so you have all this thing. But I remember I sat there, and a few days later, and it probably was David. He's the oldest. He's the most like me. He's the most close to perfection. No, I'm just kidding. So I remember sitting there reading, and my wife came in, and she kind of got my attention. I looked, and he was behind me at kind of our little island counter right there, and he had his Bible open and was trying to sit the same way I was reading his Bible. Why? Because I was doing it in front of him. Now, I know many of you read your Bible, but I think it's powerful when your kids see you do it. Because you're showing them, I don't just say I do it. You're going to get interruptions. You're going to have those times. You don't have to do it all your Bible reading there. I just felt like it was powerful for them to see it. Next, very practical. Buy them an alarm clock. By the time I got to Joey, it was so ridiculous. We kind of suckered David. Dave, you get up so many mornings, buy this alarm clock. Tried to hype it up, but I think he was like, hey, wait a minute. Mom, you're not going to come in and, turn the lights on. David, you know, do that. I'm like, Dave, dude, you're getting an alarm, you're getting up. If you don't get up, then we're going to throw water on you. Why? Because my mom did it to me once growing up, and I just want to torture someone else. All right, so. By the time we got it was funny because we got one for Pete. By the time we got to Joe, I don't know what age Joe was. He's like, man, when am I going to get my own alarm clock? Well, there's already like 2 alarms going off. They're in the same room. They have other bedrooms, but my kids are weird. They all chose to share the same room, which is another awesome thing. I cannot tell you how many nights my wife and I would just lay there in our room, listen to them laughing, cutting up, playing. And we love that. We're going to look back on those times and their camaraderie. But he's like, oh, I'm on an alarm clock. And my wife and I said, how stupid of a kid is he? And if you know Joe, that's a legitimate question. All right, but how stupid of a kid is he? He wants to have his own alarm clock, so he has to then get up. Why did he want to? Because he said that's really what all the other people in the house do. That makes me an adult. It makes me be responsible. I think we need to model that. So as simple a thing as getting yourself up with an alarm clock, I would do that for them. Teach them that responsibility. Next, limit video game and TV time, encourage them to read. I'll get off the soapbox pretty quick, but we're a big advocate of readers in our family. Now, even now, like kids, we do let them have headphones, and we have we share a book account, an audio book account, and I buy the books, and they can only read, but they can read from that section of books. And if they read so many, they get incentives. If they read so many books over the summer, they get incentives, and we talk about them. And it's been good for us. And they also read print books. We like to read a lot. Our family does, and that's why our family's better than yours. No, I'm just kidding. So this is just something we've chosen to do, and then this probably goes back to my mom. She used to really encourage our family to read and do that. I'll throw you one other thing to show you how amazing I was. I know one time as a kid, she said, whoever has the cleanest room every week, I'm going to take you out for breakfast. And so everyone says it's a great idea. And she stopped it after 4 weeks because I won hands down every single week. And her brother and sister were complaining, that's not fair. I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you been to your room? Have you been to mine? It's not even close. All right, so. But I would encourage you to limit video game and TV time and encourage them to read. Next, give them chores around the house and allow them to work a job when possible. This is a big one. And again, this is probably something my parents did. I do remember a time, and I love telling the good things about me and the bad things about my siblings because that's all I remember. One time my brother did not get the lawn mowed like he was supposed to when he was little. Came to dinner and there was no plate there. He went to get a plate. My mom says, put that away. When you finish mowing, you can eat. I was like, yeah, get him. All right, so I could tell you another time I didn't do my chore, but we'll leave that one aside. But as you have these things, they need responsibility. And if you just allow your child to go to bed when they want, and to get up when they want, and eat whatever they want, and have no structure, and have no chores, how are we modeling and training them self-discipline? How are you showing them how to grow to be an adult? How are you teaching them what I believe the Bible teaches us to follow? We have to have, life is something, a series of being controlled, disciplined, controlling our appetites, controlling how we treat other people. They may be mad. Okay, how did you respond? Just because they made you mad doesn't mean you have to respond in uncontrolled anger. It's very difficult to do that. So give them chores and allow them to work a job. My dad has enabled my kids to work a job from they were very, very young. It's been good for them. And I love now when people tell me, man, your kids are good workers. I think I had it one time by a blind lady. No, I'm just kidding. But I love when people tell me my kids are good workers. I like that. I like when I say, hey, we're going to do this project, and they get in and they work hard. I like when they take on a responsibility and they make that happen. Because I respect hard work. I respect those who do work hard. My guess is you do as well. And our job is to model that for our kids and teach them. Now, I could take it to an extreme. I remember when my kids were little and we were supposed to be raking the leaves. I don't know if anyone knows that. How many people here enjoy raking leaves? Because if you do, give me your names. And when the leaves fall at my house, I'll call you and you can come to my house and rake all you want. But we get out there, and my whole job is raking leaves. Get this done as soon as possible. Why in the world do we want to do it? So I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. So I start raking leaves and got my kids, my wife, and said, hey, you guys do this. I want to beat you guys. I got this section. So I'm like going crazy. Get the blisters come on your hands. God, I'm going to get this done. I got this huge pile. I'm sweating even though it's cold. I got all this. I go over there. My kids are like running, jumping, wee, you jumping in a pile? They have this little pile. What are you guys doing? She's like, we're playing in the leaves. It ain't playing time, it's working time. So she's like, let the kids play. They're little. Nope, they can play after they're done working. So we had to figure that out, and I won. No, I'm just kidding. So now if they're 16 and still running, jump, playing the leaves, you have a problem. But they were probably about 5. So we had to figure that out, but give them chores and allow them to work a job as possible. Next thing, I'm just going to throw out their spiritual integration. I'll be quickly. Jesus is our filter for everything. One thing I wanted to understand for myself and for our family, God is not someone that, like a Bible, that I put on a shelf Sunday evening, and then Saturday night or Sunday morning, come get it off the shelf and say, it's God's time. God's time is 24/7. He is supposed to be our filter for everything. Everything I do should include Jesus. If I want to eat something, I should pour it through the filter of Jesus. If I want to watch something, I should pour it through the filter of Jesus. If I want to handle someone and interact with someone, I should pour it through the filter of how Jesus would handle them. He is our filter for everything. He is not just something that we come and hear about in church. He is something we're supposed to work with inside, and He's supposed to be a part of us, and we're supposed to model what He would model. That's our challenge. We're supposed to reflect Christ. We're supposed to let our light shine. Why? So they can reflect back on Him. We're supposed to make sure that way. He is our filter for everything. So allow your children to question you if they feel uncomfortable about an activity you're doing. Why are we doing this, Daddy? Mommy, are we sure we're supposed to be doing that? It's amazing so many times you have kids, but I thought, when I drive, there's just an exceptional amount of people that don't know how to drive, and I wish they would go get their license checked to, and figure that out. But I remember some person was just going super slow, and I'm like, oh, what an idiot. My wife's like, don't say that, kids are going to listen. No, they're not. I still remember, I don't know how, but I said, oh, what an idiot. My hair in the back seat. Hey, an idiot. What was that? I'm like, give me 5. But they'll say, and you say, I love Jesus. Nothing. They will say the bad things. But you have to be careful. But you have to allow your children to question if they feel uncomfortable in activity you are doing. And when they do that, if you can't answer them in a good way, you probably should change the activity. You have to allow yourself to be challenged. I'm the dad of the home. Yes, Jesus is supposed to be controlling your life. You're accountable to Him. Is He pleased? And sometimes He's used my boys to challenge me to be better. And I don't like that when that happens. But that's reality. I have to allow myself to be challenged. And that's allow myself to be challenged by my wife also. Are you sure that's a good idea? Do you think we should do that? Now, none of us like that, but I think it's healthy to have that accountability. So, I'll move on until everyone loves that point. All right. They're on a spiritual growth spurt. Support and participate with them. This is something, it's very difficult. And my kids come home and have this saying, it's, if Brother Judah has them, I can't remember if it was I think it was one of their Sunday school teachers. We were on a trip, and it probably was Pete, but he was sitting there, and everywhere we went, I don't know if he had a book, I don't know, I'm like, or maybe, I think it actually was his Bible. He's telling me, like, will you put the Bible away and quit reading that Bible? We're here on this family activity or vacation, whatever it was, and do that? Why are you reading the Bible so much? That sounds ridiculous. I'm a great spiritual dad. But I want to do it. My teacher said if I read it through in 10 weeks or something like that, he challenged us to do it. And in my head, you know what I wanted to say? What stupid teacher would say that? Isn't that ridiculous? You're like, no, that's a great teacher. I know that. That's kind of why I was being facetious. But I had to understand, all right. And I said, well, listen, when we're actually out doing it, I need you not to, but I'll help you support, and we'll work with you and let him stay up a little later. And he did accomplish it. Now, I had to kind of acquiesce and give in, but it was good for me. And your kids are going to come home, and they're going to be on fire after some sort of a service or something else, or, man, we're going to ask to do this. You're going to maybe roll your eyes sometimes, but you need to support and encourage them because they are learning Jesus is their filter for everything. Next is more for the parents, if you can. I'll try to go. I know I'm trying to go quick here. Participate together as a family as many areas as possible. This means every single thing. My mom and dad always tried to take a child with them when they did something. We have tried to model that also. We take our boys and try to do something with us. We have to run to the store. We want one of our boys to run with us. If we have to go visiting, I try to take one of them with me. Or my wife would do the same. Next, you should take up their interest even if they aren't your preference. If my wife or my children, I think it's Philippians 2:4, which specifically addresses this, but if they have an interest that's not necessarily yours, you should be interested in it. All of my boys have interests that aren't necessarily my area of strength. My wife is much better at this than I am, but she'll relate to them. We were just come back from vacation. It was a day where the sun set at 11 p.m., and it was light again by, I think, 4. Even at 2 or 3 in the morning, it was only dusky. It had the long sun. But I asked my wife, why do you think the sun, somewhere we were talking about it, in the middle of some peak, gives some ridiculous scientific explanation. Well, it's because of the curvature of the bend. My wife just looked at me, she's like, how are you my son? She said, I was just going to be like, huh. And you give some scientific explanation. I'm like, because he's my son, that's why. But I had no idea what he's talking about either, but I act like I did. That's all that matters. But you have that, but when he's interested, he'll read ridiculous books. David will talk about some things that are just strange. And I'm like, Dave, you're weird. No. When he does that, I have to show some interest. And Joey does not stop talking, so you just listen about half the time. But as they have interest, Joey likes to talk about shoes. I don't really care about shoes. I know more about shoes now because of Joey and his incessant talking about them. Now, are shoes really that important? To be honest, no. You know who is important? Joey. Joey's important enough for me to care. So when your kids are there talking, and you don't care about their book, you don't care what their little friend said at school, you don't care what their little friend had in their lunch, and they wish they had that in their lunch because they really like it. And if their parents must love them because they had this little thing in their lunch, and boy, I sure would like it if I could have that at my lunch. And you're just like, well, you stop with what you lunch. But sometimes you look and say, you know what, I do love you. And thanks, I appreciate you telling me, but you're still not going to get that little thing in your lunch. All right, so you have that. The other day I was at a store, and I heard a lady, and the kid was starting to throw a tantrum. She looked, she said, you know what? You are not going to get that. You have way too much stuff at home. I spoil you. I give you too much as it is, and you're not going to get anything. So you might as well just be quiet. I want to go over and give me a fist bump right now. But I did not do that. But if they have interest, take them up. Be interested even if they are not your preference. Have a story. I won't go into it. Sacrifice for each other. Let them observe the inconvenience without the guilt trip. They should see you sacrifice for other people and see you sacrifice for them. And don't give them the guilt trip every time. You know how much I sacrifice for you every single time you drive to school, every single time you drive to an activity, every single time you go to a youth activity, every single time you go to their game. Don't get in the car and say, oh, I love you because I'm driving. I hate coming here and I'm doing it just for you. Don't do that every single time. They're going to be like, just shut up and don't take me. They may not say that, but they're going to think it. But they can see you model all the times that you've come late, pick them up. All the times you've sacrificed and gone to their recitals and youth activities and games and all the times you've gone to they know you're there. And they're aware of that. And they think they're sacrificing for me. And you may not think it makes a big difference. I am convinced it does. Next, the dad's schedule should not be the top priority all the time. Some of you may disagree, and that's fine. But I think I need to model serving my family. Not because I like to, but because it's good for my ego and pride. That means in the home, if there is dad's chair, if one of my kids, someone actually in the church bought me a chair, and technically it is my chair. But we had that. But it's ridiculous. There was a spot. I remember at the end of the table where we eat. One time I came out there and get ready to eat, and I walked over to one of my sons sitting in my chair. I'm in daddy's chair. I wanted to say, get out of my chair, kid. That's why I really did. You would think, oh man, you're not a good dad. You would have done the same thing, right? But I felt that, and I said, no. I said, guess you're going to be dad tonight. I went and sat in his chair, and he got surprised. Hey, I want to sit in daddy's chair. They had that. I said, you can sit there next time if you're really good. But I have to understand, I have to do that. And sometimes what I want to do shouldn't be what we do. Where do you guys want to go to eat? They all give an opinion. Well, none of those matter. We're going where I want. And everybody's like, every wife in here is looking at her husband like, that's what you do like every time. All right. Guys, do you want me to get personal? I'll do it quickly and move on. If you want to get really, really good Christian, you sit down the TV, hand your wife the remote. All right. There we go, right there. I still remember the first time I did that, my wife put on a cooking show. Oh, man. I sat there, you know, guys, you get frustrated where you're just kind of rocking back and forth because I want to make sarcastic comments so bad. And because that's how I enjoy it. And the worst thing is my kids modeled me in that area. So they came in and they were sitting there and they start kind of giggling. And then they're like, Ann, put this ingredient in, and then I start doing it. And finally we noticed that my wife had left the room. Hey, come back in here, we'll watch your cooking show. How am I supposed to enjoy it when all you guys doing are making fun of it? Because that's the best thing about it. It's hilarious. It's like a comedy. That didn't go over really well. So don't do that if you do it. Next, this is for the parents. Keep a regular schedule. You shouldn't have to be busy all the time. And when I say this is not to keep your kids from being involved. This is for me as a dad. I shouldn't be too busy for my kids. When our kids were little, I was home even more than I am now because that's where they were. And I made it a big deal to read to them every evening. And this is not because I am a good dad. This is because I had to take steps to try to be a good dad. But I had to really work at that. But you shouldn't have to be busy all the time. I shouldn't have to be on the phone all the time. I should not have to be responding to text or emails all the time. I should not have to be out visiting all the time. I need to make sure my kids are a priority. There are many people I try to influence. And if you're here and I have some influence in a ministry with you, I do try to give you time. But I know that there are 4 people, without a doubt, God told me I want you to influence. That is Michelle, David, Peter, and Joe. They're my most important disciples. They're the ones God said, they are your responsibility. So if I forfeit that responsibility, it seems like I should forfeit everyone else's influence over them. They are my priority. Does not mean they dominate all of my time. They may go with me and help share, and they should learn to do that. But that's just a thing I try to model and work at. I'm not where I should be, but I try to do that. Last, I'm going to go quick on discipline. Please don't discipline when angry. In a lot of counseling, you discipline you're angry, you're going to regret it. You're going to make a lot of statements. You're stupid, you're horrible. You're going to say things to their mom when you're angry that you regret, and they're going to remember. You're going to say things to your husband that you regret, and your kids are going to remember. And you're going to wonder why they're not close to you. This is why. You're going to have all this. Don't discipline when angry. Then this is a challenge. If you have never had kids, my kids, I'm going to be sweet to them all the time. Oh, just wait. But they will test you. I could tell you many stories, and all of you that could. I'm helping, Daddy. No, you're not. And that several times we've done that. My kids have broken something, done something, and told my wife, I'm going to go out and drive for a little while. I'm going out driving to spend time with the Lord. You know why? Because the Lord better help my spirit. We have to make sure we don't discipline when you're angry. This is not going to work, and it is a challenge. You'll have to work at it, but make sure you do work at it. Next, discipline more when they were young. They won't remember the discipline. Please discipline them when they're little. When they get to be 15, you're not going to be able to just manhandle them and do that. You start when they're young. If you could have that, then model that. You've heard that before. Be as consistent as possible. Don't be one day where you lenient, let everything go, and the next day be super hard and controlling and try to make up for that and go back and forth. Pick where you're going to be and stay right there. Pick where you're going to be and how much they nag you and what you're going to do and agree on that and stay right there. Self-discipline is the goal. That means I want my boys, if I had a choice, I want them to decide what time they're going to get up in the morning. They know what time they have to leave, or I'm leaving and they're going with me, and they're going to get up on their own. They should know what they're going to eat every single morning. They should know that they need to read the Bible every single morning. I should not have to remind them at this point. I should not have to give them incentives. They should do it because they choose to do it. Now, eating is kind of a problem because, my wife and I have made some choices, and we have tried to eat healthier. And we do try to eat pretty healthy. Now, we're not where we should be. We do try to eat healthier. We do try to exercise. And my son Dave, he's kind of where we're at, and he's doing it. My son Pete, and now he's rubbing off on Joe, has become ridiculous. So if you want to get them ridiculous, I still remember last year on Pete's birthday, my wife made him a Sarah birthday cake and all that, and we sang happy birthday, cut the cake, and I gave him a piece, and he's like, Dad, are you going to make me eat my birthday cake? I'm like, yes. He doesn't want to eat his own birthday cake, and he ate it, and he got all the frosting off, and then he ate just a couple bites of the cake. Is that enough, or do I have to keep eating it? I'm like, Pete, you're ridiculous. We were just on vacation. They had this homemade ice cream. I'm like, hey, he's looked at his dad. Is this one of those times where you're going to tell me I have to buy ice cream and I have to eat it? Yes. you have anything with no sugar in it? No. So I talked to Pete. You can't be that way. So if you want, go lecture Pete right after this if you'd like to. Some of you are like, yeah, that's a kid after my own heart, you weirdo. So you have it. But he can be too much that way, and now Joey's getting away. Let me read the ingredients to this. Joey, just shut up and eat it. Just to have that. But if I had to choose between that, and I know another family where they have to lock up every bag of chips, pop, and sugar because their kids just won't stop eating it, I'll choose Reminder. Now, you know when that started? When I started being a better example for them. And it's not easy. And I don't like doing it. But as my dad, that's my job. The last two questions. Why did God give you children? Answer that question in your own head. Write it down, whatever. Why did God give you children? Is it to do your bidding? Is it so you can dominate them? Is it so you can make them follow your schedule and prevent them from being involved in the church and not being able to do sports, and so you can just tell them to go figure out your own homework and not work with them? Or is it so you can mentor them as Jesus did his disciples? Which one? Why did God give you children? So that you don't find time for them and other people can raise them, so you can invest in them. Why did God give you children? Your answer could be totally different than mine. It's between you and the Lord. But why did he give you children? How are you helping them reach their potential? You're going to write down and be unbiased at how am I helping my child reach their top potential. If you were honest, are there any changes you need to make? If you don't like what your child's doing, which I have seen this, what example are you setting? What example am I setting? If I don't like what my child is watching, do I like what I'm watching? If I don't like what my child is saying, do I like what I'm saying? Am I helping my child reach their potential? Am I helping them to excel in school? Am I helping them to excel in learning to serve others? Being Christ-like is just putting others first. Are they watching you model that? And these are all questions that I'm pointing at you because I have to ask myself the same things. So just a few challenges tonight. On the family, on the home, please do not think that at all that I've mastered this. I have worked very hard to get better at it. I still have a long way to go. Do not hold my children up to be examples. They do not deserve that. They have not proven that. And I don't want that target on their backs. I don't want the target on my back. That's not the goal or intent. The goal is for all of us to say, I want to do a better job. That's what we're all aspiring to do.